This tutorial will teach you everything there is to know about adding and navigating asset information in your CMMS. There are three main asset types in the CMMS: facilities, equipment, and tools. Facilities are your parent assets, such as warehouses, factories, or even rooms that house your equipment, tools, and supplies. Facilities are used to group all of your assets together in locations such as rooms or departments. Equipment and tools are very similar in terms of their use and functionality in the CMMS. However, you will find that the equipment module allows you to add a little more information and configure more settings than the tools module. Facilities, equipment, and tools are just three main categories used to differentiate asset types in your CMMS, but you can create as many subgroups as you want. If we navigate to the Assets button, we find the three main asset categories. If we select a Facilities asset, we can see that there are 7 selectable tabs. If we open an Equipment asset, we can see that there are 10 selectable tabs. And if we open a Tools asset, we can see that there are 9 selectable tabs. To get you familiar with everything you need to know about assets as quickly as possible, this tutorial will cover the Equipment module in detail. The Equipment module covers all of the tabs and fields that you'll find in the Facilities and Tools modules. You'll find that the process to add and modify asset information is identical in each of the 3 asset modules. We can start by looking at my simple CMMS and observe how I named and organized my assets. We can see that my main facility can be broken down into its subcomponents, starting with the parent assets followed by the child assets. If we open the North Building Assembly, we can see that the equipment is contained within this section of my facility. The assembly lines can also be broken down into their subcomponents. This is an example of an asset hierarchy from parent asset to child asset. It's also important that you follow a naming convention that makes sense to you. In my facility, I named my assembly line subsections Assembly Line 1, Assembly Line 2, etc. This is a very simple naming convention, but if I named all my assembly lines assembly line, then identifying a work order for an asset would be really difficult. Always follow an asset hierarchy and naming convention when adding assets to your CMMS. We can now look at the buttons and fields in the asset modules and learn how to use them. We'll start by creating a new equipment asset by selecting Assets, Equipment, and New. As we can see, the CMMS automatically assigns a new asset with a name, a unique QR code, and an asset code. The asset code is a unique alphanumeric code used to identify assets in the CMMS. By default, the asset code is automatically generated each time a new asset is added. You should make sure to customize this and follow the asset naming conventions you previously chose. QR codes are also automatically created for each asset in the CMMS. These can be printed and placed on assets, allowing users to simply scan the QR code using a mobile device to instantly display asset information such as work orders or scheduled maintenances on the fly. In the Equipment module, there are 10 tabs: General, Parts BOM, Metering, Events, Personnel, Warranties, Businesses, Purchasing, Files, Custom, Log. I'll start by entering the name of the asset at the top. Remember to follow a naming convention for assets. I'll name this Assembly Line 5. I can fill in a description and select the category of the asset from the drop-down menu. I'll choose Equipment for simplicity. Because this is a top-level machine, I'll choose This equipment is located at and choose the facility that the asset is located at. I'll choose the facility I created earlier. I would choose This equipment is part of if Assembly Line 5 was a subcomponent of a larger piece of equipment. Because some equipment assets are not located within a facility, a location can easily be added using an address or latitude-longitude. Assigning longitude and latitude coordinates is useful for identifying the location of assets in remote locations such as offshore oil rigs or mining operations. Select the Address button and enter an address, or select lat-long and enter the coordinates. I'll save my work. Equipment is sometimes stored in an aisle, row, or bin. This information can be entered here. If we scroll down, we can see that notes about the asset, its make, model, serial number barcode, and UNSPC code can be entered here. By selecting the Account and Charge Department tabs, this information can be entered here. Finally, the main page allows you to change an asset to online or offline. An asset may go offline for many reasons, such as the event of a power outage, fulfilled work order, etc. To change an asset status, select the Set Offline button. Select a date, user, reason to set offline, any associated work order, and additional info. If the offline status is related to an event, this can be documented by selecting the drop-down menu. To set an asset online, simply press Set Online and fill in the information. The Parts BOM tab allows me to add parts that are commonly used for maintenance on my assembly line. This may be belts, bearings, gears. A BOM stands for Bill of Materials and is simply a list of commonly used or consumed parts. Creating a BOM saves me time from having to add parts individually. Adding Parts BOM to assets helps locate these commonly consumed parts when an asset is assigned to a work order and a part is consumed. I can either select the small plus sign to select parts individually, or I can select the large plus sign to add a BOM. Because I commonly consume belts, bearings, and gears, I'll create a bill of materials for these parts. The Metering Events tab allows you to add meter readings or events such as a power outage or a fire drill. By clicking the plus sign, you can add a meter reading for the assembly line. A scheduled maintenance can be configured to create a work order when a meter reading reaches a defined threshold. For example, when the reading for the production hours reaches 8 hours, a scheduled maintenance will be triggered to oil the assembly belt wheels. Events can be added to the CMMS simply to log the event or to trigger a scheduled maintenance. For example, I may want to add a scheduled maintenance for the assembly line when there's a power outage. To add an event, I select the plus sign, drop-down menu, New, add a name and description, and press OK. The Personnel tab is used to assign users to an asset. An asset is usually assigned to personnel that are responsible for that asset. By assigning a user to an asset, the assigned personnel will be notified by email when the asset goes offline or online, and when a work order is created. I'll select the New button, the drop-down tab, and select Susan Wilson because she's the storage warehouse technician. The Warranties tab is used to add warranty information. By selecting the New button at the top of the page, basic information such as warranty type, the business providing the warranty, usage term type, expiry date, certificate number, and a description can be filled in. The Business tab is used to identify the business name and type, the supplier part number, catalog, and price. The price of an asset is populated once a purchase order has been received for a piece of equipment. To populate these fields, I select the plus sign at the bottom of the page. I select the business ad to add my business. A new business can be added by selecting New. Adding business information in detail will be covered in another video. I select the business type, add the supplier part number, and catalog. If I check off "This is my preferred vendor" when an RFQ or request for quote is created for this asset, this business will automatically be selected in the Purchasing Planning Board in the Purchasing module. This is a feature that just helps to improve the workflow in the Purchasing module, but again, we'll cover the Purchasing module in greater detail later. For now, simply check this tab off if this is your preferred vendor. Okay. The next tab is the Purchasing tab. This is used to identify the potential replacement value of an asset. By filling in this information, a receipt for this purchase is created and saved to the CMMS. To view the receipt, we simply select the reference number here. The Files tab is used to add links, notes, and various file types such as images, spreadsheets, and text files. Files can be copied to the CMMS by searching your computer for files or by dragging the files into the Files window. To search for files that you would like to add to the CMMS, select File from the drop-down menu button, the plus sign, select the files, and save. To drag the files into the Files window, simply select the file and drag and drop and save. To add links, select Link, click the plus sign, add a name, the link URL, any important notes, and click OK. Note that you can only link to files publicly accessible on the internet. You will not be able to link files hosted on your company's file server, for example. To add notes, select Note, plus sign button, add a name, and the note. OK, save. The Custom tab allows you to create a custom field for an asset category that isn't already populated in the CMMS. For instance, it may be important to document the safety training manual used for the assembly line. Remember that custom fields are category specific. I select Add Custom Field, choose a name, click Text one line, and click OK. The Log tab allows you to view the history of the asset, including any existing SMs, open work orders, work order history, parts and supplies consumed, cost tracking, and offline history. As I mentioned at the beginning of the tutorial, the Tools and Facilities modules are similar to the Equipment module. In the Tools module, we have all the same tabs as the Equipment module except for the Parts BOM tab. It's important to note that the Tools module is only used for tools that require maintenance. Tools that don't require maintenance should not be added to this module. Examples of tools that don't require maintenance are screwdrivers and hammers. These go in the Supplies section of the CMMS. In the Facilities module, we can see that the 7 tabs General, Parts BOM, Metering Events, Personnel, Files, Custom, and the Log tab, all of which were covered in the Equipment module.